Welcome to Sound the Horne Sports Show. I'm so excited to host this groundbreaking program that will broaden the Jackson sports scene's awareness regionally and nationally. My goal is to highlight sports in Jackson, the state of Mississippi, and nationally by utilizing my 25 years of Division I athletic administration knowledge, and my guests will be experienced leaders in sports. The guest on the show will share a behind-the-scenes, unique, and informative glance of the world of sports. Please join me every Monday and Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com. Welcome to the Sound the Horne Sports Show. I'm Derek Horne, and our guest today is Reverend Dr. Katie Fisher, captain of the University of Southern Mississippi 1987 NIT basketball championship team. How you doing, Pastor?
I'm doing fine.
Thanks so much for being a part of the show, and we've known each other for a while, and I'm excited just to have you on and just kind of talk about that championship season, but also too we're going to always like to have our guests share a little bit about themselves. So if you would just tell a little bit about yourself, hometown, and where you're from, hobbies, and things like that.
Katie Fisher, born in Vicksburg, Mississippi, but raised in Utica, Mississippi, God's country. Raised with mom and dad, with four older brothers, a baby brother, and a little sister. Went to Utica High School, and I'm gonna go away for life. And I left there and went to USM, and I'm a Golden Eagle for life. So that's raised by both of my granddaddy was farmers. So you had to play sports to get out of the field. Yeah.
I've heard that story before. If you would just kind of tell us what you're doing right now. Give us an insight.
Well, right now I'm partially retired from the federal government because of the Army of 9 years and 13 at the post office, and I've been pastoring Greater Grove Street Missionary Baptist Church. I'm going into my 25th year, and I'm blessed to be able to pastor the church that my mother took me when she was pregnant with me. So the people that raised me, now I'm pastoring some of them at Greater Zion Travel Missionary Baptist Church in Utica, Mississippi. So play a lot of golf, I umpire, referee, softball, baseball, just doing things to maintain my sanity.
Watching the kids when you're out there as an umpire or officiating, what is the difference you see in when we came up playing sports and what they look like playing now, what their abilities are now?
But basically, the major difference is their discipline. When we played sports, you didn't talk to the referee. The referee was forbidden. Only the coach talked. Now the kids, they're more attitudinal, but I try to stay within the lines and try not to never take it personal. Try to deal with the game. Try to stay in the game as an official. But the biggest difference is just the kids' attitude.
Mm-hmm. I think that's something that's very unique because what happens is, our kids now are almost morphing into what society's like. And entitlement is becoming a theme. And sometimes it's better to listen and be respectful. And I've seen that over the years. And I can imagine what officials deal with. And I've seen how officials have had to make that adjustment. But when we talk about just your time in Utica and the military, kind of tell us how the military might have shaped your mindset for what's gotten you to the point you are right now.
Well, the military was easy for me in a lot of ways because discipline started at home. You didn't get out of bed without making your bed up at Katie May House in Willoughby. So the work ethic was there. And a sergeant major from Columbia, Mississippi, gave me some advice in basic training. He said, be where you're supposed to be, do your job, respect who you're supposed to respect, you'll be fine. That's how I was raised. So the military, home prepared me for the military, but then again, the military prepared me, gave me that discipline, that extra discipline, because the military is just a different lifestyle. So it prepared me for the workforce. When I went to the post office, that rain, sleet, or snow, not gloom or night wasn't a problem because the Army has a philosophy: if it ain't raining, we ain't training. Mm-hmm. Anybody can put a tent up when it's sunny outside. Can you put it up when it's raining and it's storming? So one stage led to the next.
Well, it's sharing that kind of motto that the military has. You have a motto that you have it's just on your bio. If you would share that motto, but then also kind of give your rationale behind using that motto.
Well, my personal philosophy, if you don't take it personally, it'll make you a better person. Simply because people are going to offend you. Things are going to happen to cause you to feel a certain way. And so I learned years ago, basically in college, if you can't control your feelings are going to control you. And it alters how you see people, how you act. It causes you to act out of character. So if I don't take it personal, you'll get the same person. You're going to get Casey. So regardless of what it is, I've had to deal with a lot of things in life. And so even now, with the way society is now on the basketball floor, referee, I don't take it personal. I tell the kid what I think, what I'm going to do, and I just deal with it, because you can't officiate a game if you're in your feelings. You can't pastor people if you stay in your feelings. You can't be a good person if you stay in your feelings. So I try to not to take it personal, and it does make you a better person, because people always walk away from you with a certain sense of, I did this, but he did that.
Well, I know you're a proud father. We talked about your sons in the military, and I know your daughter is in education. If you don't mind, maybe share a little bit about your children and what they're doing right now, and how what you've done in the past has kind of shaped them to go in the direction they're going in.
Well, my kids have always, me and Michelle, our kids have always been my focus. I went in the military for my kids, to get them started, to start my family. I quit basketball. I quit playing basketball on a professional level to be a dad. And being a father, I just knew what my father meant to me, my grandfather meant to me. So with my boys, I learned real quickly that they weren't athletic enough to really be successful in sports. They were good baseball players. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, they were excellent baseball, but I could tell that they didn't love it. Mm-hmm. If I got to make you go outside and throw a ball, let's go hit some ball, it ain't in your heart. So I kind of asked them to get into some program. They got an ROTC, and I would hear them talking about it. They were excited about it. So they went through ROTC here, and they graduated from Jackson State University through the ROTC program. Brian's a captain, promotable. Ryan made captain. They airborne, air assault, Ranger. They did stuff. I'm like, did I raise y'all that tough? But but Ryan decided to get out, and he has a job with Amazon, doing well. And my daughter, she thought about, my boys tried to push her one way, and I said, follow your heart. So she loves kids, she loves education, so she's teaching. So I got out because when I was hearing the military kids talking about how they hated their mom and dad moving around, I thought about, I need my kids to have a home base. So when I got to a certain point, I said, we going back home so they can have a high school that they can say we graduate from. They can have classmates that aren't all over the world. So then to come back and be with family. So the children have always, even now, the boys in Washington, D.C., the young men, and my daughter's talking about moving to Houston. Your kids just pull at your heart. One time I had said I quit flying, but I'll fly to see them. I just have to take something to calm me down.
Well, you made me think a lot about just parents and how my parents were. Both of my parents were athletes, and they really never had to have a push because I would sit around and listen to their stories.
Right.
My father was a heck of a receiver. My mother was a great basketball player. And just hearing their stories. And then I have my son, my son Chris, and as a proud dad, you want to get him out there and get him involved with stuff. I saw about 2 or 3 plays. I said, let's go figure something else out. Exactly. But he did get an ROTC in high school and decided to go ahead and go into the military, and he's enjoying it. And I think it's not what our kids do, but it's how they continue to grow.
Exactly.
That is very important. And I've seen your children, and they're very respectful of you and your wife, and they're doing well. And I think as parents, that's what we have to make sure that's our goal to accomplish, because our parents did it for us. What sports did you play in high school? I know you were a pretty talented athlete. You probably played everything but tiddlywink.
my first love was baseball. Growing up, the elder at my home church, Robert Marber, he took us all over Mississippi. In Vicksburg, we lost one game in 3, 54-1. We could play. Ellis Burke played in the major leagues for years. He made All-Star. He played on that team. Fulton Carson, my friend and double cousin, he played at Valley. But that was my first love. But I just migrated toward baseball. I was the high school quarterback for 3 years. WC Gordon offered me scholarship to play quarterback. I had scholarships for football. Matter of fact, University of Georgia offered me a scholarship, but I just didn't have that passion for football. I wanted to play on Friday, but I didn't want to practice. So I was like Allen Iverson, I guess. And I high jump, long jump, ran the open quarter. Matter of fact, I won the state championship in the high jump. But basketball, the thrill of putting that ball in that net, and the thrill of passing the ball, and that it's the ultimate team sport, was just what I just love the most. People in Utica know I always bounce the ball. Casey, quit bouncing the ball in the hall. I'd bounce the ball up the street, bounce in the house. I just love basketball. So, but I thought sometimes I wish I'd have stuck with football. It came natural to me. But basketball was the one I worked at the most, and that was my passion.
I think that's what, growing up, because you and I are about the same age, at that time we were multi-sport athletes. I played football, ran cross-country, ran track, played basketball. But now they want kids to specialize just in one sport. And I think it hinders them, because I'm just of the belief that if you're participating in different sports, your body can adjust to any kind of abrupt movement. I think why we see so many ACL tears and things right now, because all kids are doing is going straight.
Right.
They're not cutting, they're not stopping, they're not starting. And I think that's just something that when I take a look at how we grew up, how we were encouraged to do a number of sports, I'm challenged by how high schools now are trying to have these young people at an early age decide on one, not having an opportunity to probably go past high school.
Right. Well, at Utica, you didn't have that option.
Yeah.
At small school, you play everything. If you're going to have a team, you got to play. But it was part of the community. Mm-hmm. I tell people, at Utica High School, when we played Grandmama, they shut down the red light. Everybody came to the sports the events, regardless what sport it was. But it wasn't an option. It was just, it built camaraderie in the school. There was that school spirit. There was nothing like it. It was nothing like a high school game in Utica, Mississippi.
Well, we have a few people that's out of the state that might be watching. How can you describe Utica to somebody that's probably never been to Utica?
Utica's a town where everybody knows everybody. On a Friday night, your grandmama is at the football game, your granddad, the pastors, the preachers, everybody's at the game. And Utica's a small town where most of the people are related, or we know everybody. It was that town where if you do something at 1 o'clock, your mama know by 3 o'clock. It was just, but when teams come, it was that community pride that when Ben Tony and Raymond and Terry come to Utica, it's your town against their town, your school against their school. And that was the spirit that we had.
I think that for me, because I grew up in a town similar to yours, I think that small community give you that humility. Because you can't get away with anything.
That's right.
You like you said, you do something on one side of town. By the time you park your car and get out, your dad's coming up, you asking, "What you doing on this other side of town?" So I like to share that, because so many times smaller communities, not say get a bad rap, but I feel I was blessed to have an opportunity to grow up in a community that's close knit, that cares for you, and then you don't get lost. I'm not a big city guy,
right.
and I think that. Those experiences shaped us in a lot of ways. Before we get ready to end this first quarter, out of the sports that you umpire or officiate, which one is the one that you like the most?
Definitely basketball. Definitely basketball. The baseball, I tell you like this, I enjoy it. It was my first love, but that ball hurt when it hit you. It do. Softball, the girls it's amazing how I am so impressed with the girls playing fast pitch softball. It's girls playing baseball. Mm-hmm. They just can't. I don't know. It's impressive how tough they are and how they can weather the storm. But it's definitely basketball, because I know it comes easy for me. And sometimes I've learned in the first year officiating, you can't get caught up in the game, but you got the best seat in the house. And I don't care what the fans say, how they ramp and rave. I'm staying between the lines. I'm enjoying the game that I love. I don't play anymore. I just enjoy officiating. God bless me to be the coach Porter Chapel girls. Mm-hmm. But it's just something about the officiating, just being a part of the game that helped shape my life and that gave me so many avenues to be able to go down.
I think that's something that is so unique. Did you ever find yourself trying to, when you watch a play, you almost talking to the person while they're out there?
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell them sometimes, and they don't like us to do it, but when it's a kid that I know has that kind of talent, a D1 player, why do you do that? What you do that for? Then I just say it under my breath with my hand covered up and keep moving.
Well, as we get ready to move into the next segment, today's show is sponsored by earthblendcoffee.global. Use the link in the description box to place your order now. We'll be right back.
SocratesGarrettENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. SocratesGarrettENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.Dot grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. By using SocratesGarrettENT.com's crushed concrete products, anyone from homeowners to general contractors can help reduce landfilled concrete waste, conserve natural resources, and gain significant economic savings on materials and disposal costs. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
Advertise on WeBelieve.global, a brand new digital media platform. Share your brand with our audience on our many global live stream TV broadcasts and over the radio. For more info, visit WeBelieve.global or call 800-492-5186, option 1.
Welcome back to the second quarter. I'm here with Dr. Katie Fisher. We're talking a little bit about Utica and talking about his time growing up in this community. And we're going to dig a little bit more deeper into your high school days in basketball. I had Coach Mo Williams on here, and we talked about Mississippi basketball. And back in the day, it's not where it used to be back then. But back in the day, there was some fierce competition. So if you would kind of share some of the teams first, and then we'll get to some of the players, but some of the teams, and share some of those tough rivalries or some of the games that you remember the most in playing.
Well, at Utica, it was definitely Raymond was our biggest rival, and it's amazing how now all the kids in Utica have to go to Raymond. Then there was Hinds HS, 2 schools in the same town. Tyrone Kidd played down there. And so one year we played Hinds HS. The schools hadn't played in 8 years. Utica Junior College gym the new gym was packed to capacity, standing around the wall. There were people on the outside trying to get in just to watch Utica and Hinds HS play. But it was Bentonia with that Rod Bonds, the 2 small towns. You couldn't get in the gym, and the games were just. I see kids now and they shoot the basketball and they go 5 for 18. No, when we were playing basketball, we shot because that's what we mastered our craft. And Rod Bond could push them Bentonia Woods, man. We play, go to their gym and they come to us. But when our 3 was coming to Jackson. Mm-hmm. When we come to Jackson and had to play we call them the big schools. Mm-hmm. Had to deal with Forest Hill and Joe Coleman. Yeah. We had to come to Murray and deal with Ricky Short and Plug and those guys. And my junior year, we came to Jackson in the JPS tournament. First game was against Vicksburg with Michael White, who's a deacon at the church now. Mm-hmm. We beat up on Vicksburg, then we played Irvin Dillon and Arthur Cooper from Canton. Irvin Dillon was averaging like 28 points a game. We beat them. Then all of a sudden, we're playing Forest Hill with Joe Coleman, and we beat them. We playing for the finals. A little small school in Utica. We playing for the finals of the JPS tournament. We playing Clinton High School. And when we played, the whole town followed us. I mean, grandmama put the wheelchair in the trunk. That's just how it was. And it was just an amazing thing to come to Jackson. We ended up losing that ball game. I'm not going to say it was bad officiating, but we got the raw deal at the end. We lost by 1 to Bubba Skelton, who's now coaching. We lost by 1, but that's the pride that was at Utica. It started with John McGriggs and Willie C. Turner and Dennis Howard. They won 2 state championships at Utica, and they kind of built from there. I was supposed to leave Utica and go to Hinds HS. That's where my parents graduated, all of my brothers. But Greg Holmes, who ended up coaching all those years at Harrison Central, convinced me to stay at Utica because of basketball. I stayed and he left. I played for Richard Garrison 1 year. his philosophy was the same as Doug Collins in Chicago. Doug said, give Michael Jordan the ball and get out the way. Richard was, get Casey the ball and get out the way. And we had a little success, but then Al Garrison came along. And we had a good run. I ended up losing to Clyde Tables, who played at Mississippi State in the semifinals my senior year. Official, maybe that's one of the reasons why I got into officiating. A referee gave me a foul, my 5th foul, and I wasn't even in the play. We were up by 8 with like 3 minutes to go. I was playing with a bunch of freshmen, Doug Hartfield, who played at Mississippi State, Richard Caston, who played football at Northeast Louisiana, Bubba played at Hinds, and Eric Snow, who played linebacker at Mississippi Valley. They were great players, but they were young. So when I fouled out, guy asked me for a friendship request. Tony Beard from Hickory Flat hit a shot out the corner to beat us at the buzzer by 1. But the game before that, we played East Kemper. They were 37-0, and it was the first time in a long time that I hadn't been had a boxing one put on me. They came into the Coliseum 37-0. They left out 37-1. I went 19 for 20. Clyde Table the next day, Tony Beard shoots out of the corner at the buzzer. The late James Dixon, my teammate who played at Hinds, we were seniors on that team. I think if James don't go out in the corner, he forced Tony to arc the ball up. He folded nets at the buzzer, beat us by 1. Tony, I almost didn't even accept his friend request because of that shot. But the table was set for me and Rod to be in the Coliseum, but it didn't happen. But that junior high, the high school days of Utica High School was just a joy. Utica raised me. I mean, all the kids in Utica during my era, the town took care of us. If we left out of practice, we knew we were going to get a ride home. Somebody was going to take us home. If we stopped somewhere, somebody was going to feed us, make sure we had something to eat. It was just a beautiful place to be, to live. We took care of the old folks, looked out for the young folks. It was just a great life. Yeah.
Well, you brought up a few names, a couple of guys I played with. Played with Joe Coleman, and I talked to Joe a couple of weeks ago. Joe probably had the purest shot I've ever seen in my life. I'm talking about he just could shoot. And then Rod Barnes probably is the hardest working person I've ever been around. You know, athletic ability, if you're judging by ability, he didn't have that, but his heart was big. Right. And I think that's kind of what got him over the hump. And I know you and I have talked about some of the battles that you've had. What is the one that you remember the most that you might have had with Rod? Y'all went head to head.
Rod Barnes, he just got everything. If you looked at Rod when you walk in the gym and you're looking for that superstar, looking at him physically, you would look past him. But he got everything out that little body. I never will forget. The first time I faced Rod Barnes, because we kept missing each other in jumping from classes to class. When I first had to face him down in Boca Tuna, Mississippi, we were coming in and we were going to watch him play. And we asked the guy on the outside, what's the score? He said, man, I don't know, but it's a kid in there that looked like he got polio. They can't stop him. And I walked in the gym. That's the first time I saw Rod. You know, Rod was skinny. Yeah. But I'm talking about he was all over the floor, headband, twist on his head. Whenever you played Bentonia, Rod Barnes, he was just the ultimate competitor. Just like people talk about Jordan, I guess if you cut him open and pull his heart out, his heart got to be different. Cause Rod Barnes was just, it was amazing. Then we had I had the privilege and the honor. We were roommates at a camp in Milledgeville, Georgia. We were roommates, and we would go watch each other play. Oh my God. He would walk in the gym and them guys would be, think they had an easy game. Rod would, them McDonough All-American, Rod would eat them up. And we both kind of fed off each other. So, and we talk from time to time. We'll call, and we both, we went to a funeral and we rode in the same car, and he shared with me. It was amazing how that boxing one was so effective. He went on and told me, he said, man, we worked on that boxing one in the summertime to get ready for Casey Fisher. So, but great guy. Joe Coleman, if you let him get in the air, you done. He just could flat out shoot a basketball. I tried to get him to come to USM to play with me. Then I wanted to go to Ole Miss to play with him, but it didn't work out. But he could flat out shoot a basketball and could jump. And he could get up off the floor. Then he had this little knack of when he'd jump, you think he gonna shoot it, and you'll turn the rebound, and he'd dump it down to Julio, and Julio would lay it up. Just a great basketball player.
I when you talk about Rod and Joe, but I can really remember Rod playing with him. And we had a little deal where we didn't set picks for freshmen, when we were playing pickup ball. So we didn't tell them that, though.
Right.
So I'm a junior and Rod's a freshman, and he got the little headband on, and he was bouncing around. And he's passing out his name, Cecil Dial. I said, Cecil, bring him this way. I just did it. Man, Rod came off that pick. I laid that elbow on the back of his neck.
Down goes Rod.
Down goes Rod. But 2 years earlier, a guy by the name of Carlos Clark did that to me.
Okay.
But what it did, it gave you a better understanding. But your head need to be on a swivel every time you're moving. And I enjoyed playing with Rod. Even when we practice, if you came across that lane and you didn't run the play right, he'll send you back as a player.
Right.
So I knew he was going to be a coach.
Right.
I knew he was going to be a coach. So you talked about Ole Miss and Southern and the possibilities of where you were going. Why did you choose Southern?
Well, honestly, I grew up watching Jackson State football, Alcorn basketball. My uncle Larry Garrett, married to my Aunt Betty, he took me to all the sports events. And I saw some Jackson State basketball when they could play with anybody. Mm-hmm. And I grew up under the Upper Bound program at Jackson State. That's why all three of my kids are Jackson State graduates. And Covington saw me play. He saw me play a lot of ball. Me and Lindsey Hunter would play during the Upper Bound with the other guys in Jackson. But he never asked me to come. And so Alcorn, David Whitney was probably 30 minutes from my house. I saw Pee Wee Horton, and I saw the Alcorn basketball team that played in the year. Uncle Larry got me to all those games. But Coach Whitney never asked me to come to Alcorn, never set foot in Utica. And I can't say to this day if he had her, but I knew I was a big Alcorn fan. I'm a big Jackson State guy even now. But they never recruited me. So when they came in, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Auburn, a few other schools, and I signed early. But Mike Jones, whose name on the floor at Mississippi College, man, he jumped on me, and literally, when I wake up in the morning, Coach Jones was outside. I don't know if some of it was illegal or not, but anyway, when I get out of class, school was out, he'd take me home. He jumped in. They just convinced me that if I came to USM, that I had the possibility to start as a true freshman, to help build something. And I'm going to be honest with you, I watched Curtis Green, who wore the number 10.
Curtis from Memphis, right?
Yeah, he's from Memphis. Yeah. And I watched Curtis Green play on the highlight, the MK Turk show. And, man, I'm like, man, that guy can play. And I knew he was leaving. So I felt like I could go in and start. But honestly, to be honest, it's just how things worked out, because I wanted Ole Miss, and that didn't work out. And then all of a sudden, Mississippi State came in, and I was going to sign with Mississippi State, but they fired Bob Boyd, and they wouldn't hire a coach. So that's when Coach Jones jumped on it, and I ended up signing with USM early, right after football season, just signed to get it over with. And amazing, at the time I signed, I go to Louisiana and hit 57 points and play Pinewood and hit 30. Now all of a sudden, before I could sign, here comes Jackson State. So I done already signed now. So yeah.
Well, yeah, just thinking about the recruiting, it's so amazing. As you talk about it, and I can remember Sylvester Anderson, that coached here at Jackson State and coached at Georgia and Murray State. When I was being recruited, he was at Auburn. And Auburn was one place that I really enjoyed. But I played football, so I didn't take any recruiting visits in the fall. And by the time I got ready to go in the spring, they had committed all their scholarships. And that's when Chuck Person came in. But I tell you, the best recruiter that ever recruited me was Sylvester Anderson. We would have private practices. He would be there.
Right.
I'm talking about he can't, and we developed a great relationship. Even past that, we've been friends for almost 40 years. But it's just, I like to ask people about their recruiting process, because it's one little thing, and you never know what, but it's one little thing that makes you think that's where you need to be. Right. And you made a great choice going to Southern, and I think that's where I tell people, make your mind up the way you want to go. And then when you make that decision enjoy life.
Right.
I left everything at Ole Miss. Enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure you did as a student.
Right.
And those are the things that we have to cherish when we're given a God-given ability to play sports and then given the opportunity to get education. Now, those are two key things.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, we're getting ready to go ahead and go into the third quarter. We're going to talk a lot more about Southern Miss. We're going to get into that season of the NIT game. We're going to try and see a championship. We're going to try and walk through some of those games. And then we're going to talk about New York and this haircut y'all had when y'all went up there. Just to kind of talk through some of the because I really want people to realize, this is the only Division I basketball championship in Mississippi. Today's show is sponsored by EarthBlendCoffee.Global. Use the link in the description box to place your order today. We'll be right back.
SGECOVIDsolutions.com is paving the way forward for a safer city government delivering cutting-edge biosecurity and biosafety protocols developed internationally by top virologists and scientists using an all-natural cleaning solution, killing COVID-19 on contact like no other product on the international market. For more information, please call 1-800-281-9080 or visit us online at SGECOVIDsolutions.com. Let SGECOVIDsolutions.com provide innovative rapid facilities testing and world-class state-of-the-art biorisk safety protocols for all of your coronavirus needs. Call 1-800-281-9080 or visit us online at sgecovidsolutions.com.
Do you have something to say? Do you want your voice heard? Join the We Believe Global lineup. Be the star of your own show. For more info, call 800-492-5186, option number 1, or visit online at webelieve.global.
Had a little difficulty, but I worked my way through it, and Coach Turk, I guess he kind of helped navigate me through it. But I get there in Utica, I don't think I lost 20 games in 4 years. I get there, man, my freshman year, we just, in that Metro Conference, that old Metro with Florida State and South Carolina and Memphis State and Louisville.
St. Louis.
That's it. I mean, it was just, it was a Tulane. Tulane was in there, and Cincinnati. Our weakest team in the conference was Tulane, and they had Hot Rod Williams, who was a lottery pick by itself. So, but we just couldn't. We just didn't know how to win. My roommate Randolph Keys, John Derrick, a guy named Eddie Pope was there, and John Williams. We didn't have a whole lot of size, but we just didn't know how to finish. It's a difference between that shot clock changed the game. The level of athleticism changed the game, and it's just a difference. College basketball, the guys are so much stronger and bigger and physical. We just didn't know how to. So we lost 20-some games, but we knew we could play because the one team we beat that year won the national championship. The Louisville Cardinals won it, and we beat them in Hattiesburg. I had one of those high school nights. I think I hit 26 points. We beat them. So we knew we had the talent. But it's just a difference. I was baptized into college basketball by Al Young, who played with Steph Curry's dad, Dale Curry. Back then, I could go up and if the guy gonna lay the ball up, I'd be like LeBron, time it to block the shot. Al Young, my second Metro game, my first one at home, Al gets the ball on a steal, and I said, I'm gonna let him lay it up. I'm gonna slap it in the stand. He dunked on me and stood over and told me, "Welcome to the Metro." Crab, called me a crab. But I had to learn the difference. But we stuck it out, and we started to play more together in the off season, and we convinced Coach Turk to let us have a summer league. And after we got the summer league, and the fans started, the talk around town was about the alley-oops and the up-tempo play, and we just went and talked to Coach Turk, told him, "Coach, turn her loose. Just let us play. Just turn her loose." And Coach he kind of changed his coaching style for the athleticism that we had. Randolph Keys, who's a first-round draft pick, could shoot the cover off a ball. Derek Hamilton, drafted in the second round by the New Jersey Nets. His son, Kyle Hamilton, probably finna be a top 10 pick in the NFL at Notre Dame. John White, who was just a blue-collar player from Louisville, Kentucky. Kenny Seiler from Florida, Crestview, Florida. We had the talent, and Coach turned us loose. And we got to where we were scoring 150 points a game. Fans loved it, gym packed, and people just couldn't stay with us. So it just built up after the first year, losing the 20 game. Then we made the NIT the next year. So things got better. Then ended up going to the NIT.
When you're out there as a player, and I know everybody has a kind of different feel, how would you describe how that felt when you were out there in that intense moment playing in those large games? What kind of feel do you have when you're out there in the middle of it?
Well, for me, growing up, it was honestly, I was a big Louisville, Kentucky fan with Dale Griffith, with the McCray boys and Joan that was from East Kemper, and so. When you're in the backyard and you talking to yourself and you saying Fisher gets the basketball, Louisville up by 1, and you getting this stuff, and it happens. I'm in Freedom Hall. I'm on the floor. I'm looking around like, oh my God, I'm on the floor, and I had that moment my senior year. We never won at Freedom Hall. I had that countdown moment. Ball, one shot I'll never forget the rest of my life. At Freedom Hall, they up by 2. And I'm counting down just like I'm 13 years old. John White kicked me the ball. Ball goes all the way in, but Louisville had those thick nets. The ball spins out. But it's just amazing. You in Mid-South Coliseum, or you playing Ole Miss. You playing college basketball, and it's just no setting like a packed gym that's cheering for their team. But I was prepared at Utica High School. Them wooden bleachers, they banging on them bleachers, and guys standing around that floor with whiskey bottles in their pocket telling you to shoot the basketball. So I was prepared for it because Rod Bonds and playing Forest Hill, and basketball was so intense. There was so many. I tell these kids, they don't know the basketball player that came out of Jackson, Mississippi, when I came through and before me. Even watching Jackson State with the short brother, it was amazing going down the Alcorn and watching Mr. Rebound. I tell people, it was just amazing at the athleticism that was in the state of Mississippi. But for me to be out on the floor and experiencing myself after watching Alcorn play, after watching Jackson State play, that was my dream, to play college basketball, and I got a chance to live it.
What was the toughest gym you played in college?
Blacksburg, Virginia Tech. But it was nothing like Blacksburg. Their student would write out on you, and they'd have newspapers. When you get the ball, it's like they ignoring you, and they would pick 2 players every time you touch the ball. It was definitely Blacksburg. Louisville, Freedom Hall there's a basketball. They fans. They just love good basketball. Memphis, good basketball. Virginia Tech, they come in there to get in your head. And maybe the Raging Cajun down at Lafayette, they do it a little different down there. You might get hit by the head with a piece of paper when you're on the bench. They do it a little different down there.
When I played, the toughest place for us to go in was LSU, playing in playing the Tigers, and it was like all 5 players fouled at one time. So who the referee gonna call? I'm talking about, it was one of the most physical games that I played in, and I think that was their niche on how they intimidated you.
Right.
Now, playing in Kentucky, I started in my freshman year. So we're walking down the hall, and I'm just hearing, all you hear is, and you walk out of that tunnel, and you look up, the bright lights hit you. I'm talking about, I just was like a deer in headlights, because it's something different. It takes you a little while to get into the game, and then after your freshman year, those things kind of become, right, second nature. But those first impacts of those are just, it's unreal.
Oh yeah,
It's unreal.
Life change.
How was it with MK Turk, playing for MK Turk?
Coach Turk, once I got him to kind of turn me loose, we were fine. It was my freshman year was rough, because I came from Utica. Remember what I said. Now the Garrison boys playing was get Casey the ball and get out the way. So now I'm forced to play point guard. But one thing, basketball always came easy for me. I love shooting the ball, but I love passing the ball. I just love winning. To me, it was all about winning. So when he told me I was going to play the point, I gave up a lot of offense, but I enjoyed winning the game. But playing for Coach Turk, after he kind of saw that I could run the show, after he saw that I could be the coach on the floor, give me a few minutes in the locker room before you show up. Back then I wasn't no preacher, so give me a few minutes to get on Randolph and to kind of ramp and rave. To me, the point guard was a coach on the floor, off the floor, a leader. To me, because I watched my hero growing up on the professional level was Maurice Cheeks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so I kind of modeled my game after him. But Coach Turk, but then he let me move me to shooting guard my senior year. Coach Turk was the type of if you gave him the effort, you were fine. If you just give him the effort, he was fine. So, and was a good guy. Like I say, Coach Turk is a good person. He was a good coach. He listened. Once I got past a little freshman year of wanting to do what I want to do and realize that I got to be the coach on the floor and be his man on the floor, we got along.
When you went to your first set of practices and you got out there what was the biggest determining factor to show you that there was a difference between playing at the high school level and playing at the college level?
It was the physicality. In high school, getting your shot off was easy. For me, it was easy. I just make a move, and most folks couldn't jump up with you. But in college, it's just a different ball game. Like you said, the physicality, the picks, the screen, bigger guys. Eddie Pope, God rest his soul, they meaner. And the big guys, if you don't get them the basketball, they'll let you know, that kind of thing. And setting the screens, and you got to be, like you said, your head on a swivel because it's more physical. Blocking out in high school is with your butt and your back. In college, sometimes it's with your forearm and your elbow. So you got to. It's the physicality that let me know it's different. Just different athletes. If a kid is playing college basketball, he's athletic.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that all of us kind of need to realize that, when you're a big fish in a small pond, you go out to the lake, there's a lot of big fish out there. And it's a mindset, too. You have to have a mindset. And I think a lot of athletes, which I've listened to you talk, we utilize those things that we learn as athletes and apply them to life.
Right.
You got to be dedicated. You got to fight. You got to play to the end. You got to play to the whistle blows. You got to be a good teammate. You got to know when to pass. You got to know when to take the shot. And a lot of your business people probably have that mindset from where they play sports and they transition that on.
Right.
As we take a look and get ready to kind of wind down the third quarter, let's talk a little bit about one of those games last night. Let's talk about Duke.
Woo. Man, I was just college basketball, high school and college basketball is the best basketball. You're playing for the love of the game. NBA ball gets good when it gets to the playoff, but that Duke game led in Texas Tech, I'm saying to myself, Texas Tech almost won a national championship. And me and John White was talking. We talk all the time about building a program. I was impressed. They playing Duke, and it was college basketball at its very best. You watching coaches just like me coming up, seeing Denny Crum on the side. I'm like, man, that's Coach Crum over there. Dana Kirk and those coaches that you saw on TV. And so now, last night, them guys watching Coach K, and they know about the hype. This is last year. Texas Tech, they were trying to send him to the house, and you could tell. But Duke players, you could tell that they were fighting for their coach. They were fighting to get to that Elite Eight. And I've been there in that NIT tournament. It's a fight because you want to keep playing. You don't want to end your season. And last night, man, that little point guard for Duke, I'm a guard. That little point guard, man, I mean, he stepped up, and it was impressive.
I always tell people, when you take a look at the Final Four, the majority of your teams are going to have inside presence and outside presence. And the inside is going to be strong. They don't have to be big, but they can be agile and they can be very aggressive. And when you take a look at Texas Tech and Duke, those are probably the most balanced teams that's in the tournament.
That's right.
Gonzaga, they can shoot. Arkansas is very fast and athletic. Other than Villanova, I think those two teams probably have the best makeup, and they're championship built. So when I watched it and I took a look at it, I said, I think that the commentator said that Duke made their last 8 shots.
They closed it.
To close the game out. Now that's concentration, but it also made it competitive, but you're well coached because they put themselves in a position to win, and I'm looking forward to today. Because we'll talk about a few of the other ones, but I'm not surprised Arkansas won. In fact, they play so. I'm talking about it's like it kind of reminds me of the Arkansas of old. I went and watched them play when it was 40 minutes of hell. It looked like 8 people out there. They're all over the place, and it has made it so. This is probably one of the better tournaments that I've been able to watch, and I'm excited to see where we're going.
When I see kids play that hard, I know they love their coach, and I know that they love each other. Yeah. Because you can't coach a kid. You can't coach a kid hard if he don't know he love you.
Yeah. As we go to the fourth quarter, today's show is sponsored by EarthBlendCoffee.Global. Use the link in the description box to place your order now. We'll be right back.
Premium Dispensary is providing community health and wellness through CBD and Delta 8. Both CBD and Delta 8 provide an array of health benefits, aiding in appetite, sleep, anxiety, depression, chronic pain, and more. New Cannabis Premium Dispensary provides a variety of CBD and Delta 8 products, including gummies, candies, pre-rolls, pain creams, isolate drops, cartridge pens, and so much more. To learn more about New Cannabis products or to place an order, please call or text 415-465-9292 or visit us online at newcannabis.com and follow us on Instagram at newcannabisjackson.
Advertise on WeBelieve.Global, a brand new digital media platform. Share your brand with our audience on our many global live stream TV broadcasts and over the radio. For more info, visit WeBelieve.Global or call 800-492-5186, option 1.
As we go into the fourth quarter, we're going to dig deep down into this NIT championship season. And we're going to start with the first game that was played. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you played Ole Miss down there on campus.
Rod Bone.
You played against a person that you played against in high school that you had battles. How was that game?
I was so hyped I couldn't sleep. I just, because it's like everything came full circle. I get to play against Rod in college. Cause Rod, playing SEC ball. We in the Metro Conference. Then Coach Turk is coaching against his former roommate. Mm-hmm. And it's Ole Miss. It's an in-school rival. I don't care if it's Jackson State or Alcorn or Mississippi. You play an in-school rival. You playing for. It's about recruiting. Mm-hmm. It's about pride. It's about some of these guys. I know Rod Bone. So when they showed up that night, we jumped out. I think it was 27-0 before they scored a point. Mm-hmm. Reed Green was so hyped and so loud. That night they just caught us on the wrong night. We couldn't miss. And I had a great night. And I remember Rod won 2 gold balls. In high school, I went three times. I just came up short. Mm-hmm. And so that senior year, remember I told you when Clyde Taylor beat us, Rod and beat them the next day for the state championship. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, man, I get a chance to get some get back, like the young folks say. So I get some revenge, and it happened. But it was, you couldn't get in the gym. People were on the outside trying to get in. It was that first game to that NIT championship run.
The coach at Southern now, your teammate
Jay Latner.
I was looking at the video. They did, and I think they featured you in it. And he was talking about just, the Coliseum only holds about 9,000, but people say about 20,000 people there. How electric was it, compared to, was it the most electrifying game that you played in your career there?
It was way up there. Other than, anytime Louisville came mm-hmm. to Hattiesburg or Memphis State, because of their national prominence, it was always hype. Kansas State, when they had Mitch Richmond. But that game, the electricity, you heard me say it was tough to play in Blacksburg. people say the same thing about Reed Green, but I was used to it. I mean, Reed Green is a small coliseum, and they kind of right down on you, and it holds a lot of noise. And Coach Turk would be talking, you could see his mouth moving, and maybe that's why I made some of the mistakes I made. You could see his mouth moving, but you couldn't hear him. It was just, and you had to get right in the person's ear. But it was an electric atmosphere. We were excited because it was Ole Miss, and we wanted to keep playing. And then the crowd was sold out. It was just, you couldn't ask for a better atmosphere.
So you win that game, you make it through the quarters and the semis, and then you go to New York. So I want you to tell us, or just share with the folks, whose idea it was to get the NY in their head.
Believe it or not, the person with the less hair, because by that time my hair was receding, but I said, man, we got this thing. I was a team barber, believe it or not. I had the clipper, and I would line, and I could do a little something. And I said, man, we in New York. And, being a little country boy from Utica, Mississippi, we had this at that time, we had this little confidence, this little swag. We had gotten it. We after beating Ole Miss, we went to St. Louis and beat them at their place. John White shoots the ball, and ball hits the rim and goes up in the air from the side. We felt like we were on a roll. We go to Vanderbilt and the great Will Perdue, and it was just distant. But once we get to New York, we walk in the street. Coach Turk turned us loose the first day, and I get back. I don't know where I got it from. I said, man, let's cut NY in our head. They fell for it. Everybody put NY in their head. And then we said, after we did it, I said, man, I looked at John. I said, we got to win now. We got to win. So it all came from my idea.
Well, I think that when you take a look at the confidence that you can have as a team, and I went back and watched some of the games and highlights and things like that. Team was very confident. Everybody seemed like they were on one accord. So how was that semifinal game? Because the semifinal game is played in New York, right?
Right.
And who was that opponent?
It was Nebraska.
Okay.
It was Nebraska, and but the thing about one thing I learned about teams, because playing team sports, if you don't like each other off the floor, you don't play well on the floor. So that NIT team, we did everything together. We went to the movies, we ate together, we cried together, we fought sometimes and made up. I mean, we were just close knit, and it carried on the floor. So once we got past Vanderbilt, and every time they put a mic in front of my mouth, I would say something. We New York bound, baby, and we get there. So we weren't intimidated. We said we just went through 2 SEC schools. So we were like, who was Nebraska? That's a football school. And we said we were a football school. We trying to change the narrative at USM. So we weren't intimidated. But then getting to that championship game was the beast, because we had about 6,000 fans. They had twice that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And how was that game? Because I'm pretty sure that it was, you win the semifinal game. So how was that preparation for the championship game? What was the?
Well, all we kept hearing was, that's why I tell people, don't give nobody motivation. All they kept saying was Mississippi. The kids from Mississippi. The kids from Mississippi. We kept hearing, why they kept bringing up? You ain't saying nothing about Pennsylvania for LaSalle and Mississippi. The kids from Mississippi. So we were like, man, and it was so hyped. Our students were taking out loans to get plane tickets to come up there. We were seeing kids that we went to class with. It was just, it like Hattiesburg moved to, I guess you can say, especially the faithful fans. They had a corner that set right up under the goal. All of them were there, and so we felt like, okay, the great Tim Legler, and they talk about the L train. Y'all don't know nothing about Randolph Keys and John White and Derek Hamlin and Katie Fisher and Randolph. We come to get this, Kenny Sala. So it was motivation for us, because it's like they had already gave LaSalle the championship trophy. They were talking like we just blessed to be here. We just made up our mind. We're going to take this thing. We're going to win it. We're going to take it back to Mississippi.
How was it playing in Madison Square Garden? Just explain the field, and what's so challenging now. I think for the next couple of years, the championship game won't be in Madison Square Garden, I guess for scheduling reasons. But what was it like playing in Madison Square Garden?
Then that was the 50th, so we playing for the Golden. So it was all hyped up. But as a boy growing up, I was a sports fanatic. I mean, I knew every baseball, basketball, football player. I knew their background, their names. I knew everything. So when we get there, I'm watching Walt Frazier. I'm looking in the stand. Walt Frazier finna watch me play. I watch Earl Pearl Monroe, and I'm seeing Willis Reed. I watch these guys play on Madison. So I'm a little kid from Utica. I'm playing in Madison Square Garden. It was just a feeling that you just can't. It was priceless. And then my mom and my dad, who have never flew in their life, flew to New York to watch me play. First and last time, the only. I'm good. My mom was sitting in the corner, got her number 10 sweatshirt on. My dad over there with his hat. I'm good. We finna play ball. So Tim Legler, who's a commentator, they had gave him the trophy, but they didn't know that we were on a roll and we had a level of confidence.
So how does it feel to be, and I mentioned it earlier, the only men's basketball team in the state of Mississippi to win a national championship?
Well, we were upset because we felt like we should have made the tournament, the big dance.
How many they took that year? Was it 30 or 40 something? 48?
But they didn't take us.
Yeah.
LSU got in at 15 and 15, something like that. And we were upset. We had something to prove. But at the end of the day, it was a pride thing for us. And it's an experience that I'll never forget. So even now, I'm gonna be honest with you. When Mississippi State and Ole Miss and other teams play, because one time Mississippi State looked like they were gonna get there. I want them to win, but I'm like, no, I kind of like being the only champion. So, but once we did it, man, when we left New York and landed in Mississippi, man, I had never seen nothing like it. The airport was full. All the way to Hattiesburg, people on the side of the road, every town we stopped. When we got back to Reed Green Coliseum, the student body, Reed Green, was filled. It was just a sense of pride because it was Mississippi. People have, they always give Mississippi I guess you can say they always give us the run around and try. But it was Mississippi. And all I know is I was born here, I live here, I'm gonna die here. And it was all about Mississippi. And that school, Southern Mississippi in Hattiesburg, who had no basketball tradition at that point, we won it all. And like I tell John, me and John talk, you can't take that away. Yeah. You can't take that away. It's history that we won a national championship. And we felt like when that championship was over with, if we'd have played the national champion, we'd have gave them a run for their money. We was on the roll. We just had this confidence off the floor, on the floor, and Coach Turk and Coach Mack and Coach Jones and Coach Moore, they let us do what we do. We were just playing basketball and having fun.
Well, I think it was noticeable. You could see it, and I think that you and your teammates still need to be recognized for that accomplishment. Now, we are getting ready to close it out. One question: St. Peter's or Purdue?
St. Peter's. I'm going with the underdog. Go St. Peter.
Providence, Kansas.
Kansas.
North Carolina, UCLA.
UCLA.
Iowa, Miami.
Miami.
Thank you so much for being our guest.
Thanks for having me.
I enjoyed it. I always enjoy having a conversation with you, and we will catch you on Monday with our next show. Take care.
Thank you.
Welcome to Sound the Horn Sports Show. I'm so excited to host this groundbreaking program that will broaden the Jackson sports scene's awareness regionally and nationally. My goal is to highlight sports in Jackson, the state of Mississippi, and nationally by utilizing my 25 years of Division I athletic administration knowledge, and my guests will be experienced leaders in sports. The guest on the show will share a behind-the-scenes, unique, and informative glance of the world of sports. Please join me every Monday and Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com.